After that, Talion, Salus, and Rico made their way back to the cabin, Talion running through the door with a wide smile on his face. "Mom, I did it!" Talion shouted. "I cast my first spell! And it worked! It was awesome! I made like this big illusion of a dragon, just like the one you showed me in the storybook. It was great!" Talion shouted, unable to contain his joy. "Oh, that's amazing, Talion," Melody replied, walking up close, kneeling down, and giving Talion a firm hug, smiling joyfully as she did. "I'm sure you're going to be a wonderful mage, and to have already mastered your first spell. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart," she said, smiling and stroking Talion's hair, pulling some of the long silver strands behind his ear. Both of them overjoyed. "Yeah, the kid's kinda understating it," Salus said as he closed the door after Rico and himself entered. "This kid just stumbled upon something that's basically going to change demonic magic altogether. Seals mages they just went way up in the food chain." "What? I mean, I know Talion is gifted, but to do all that," Melody said, looking a bit perplexed. "How on earth could he do that?" "Well, it's simple. Your kid had a stroke of genius, or a stroke of blind luck. I'm not really sure how to place it yet. But he had the absurdly crazy idea of trying to place a seal on his body, and absolutely refused all of my suggestions that could end very poorly, until such time as he had given it a try. But despite my concerns, it worked. Not only did it worked extremely effectively, basically bypassing all of the weaknesses of a seal mage altogether. Well, almost. There are still definitely some things that needed to be worked out, but I don't exactly have enough knowledge about magic to make it happen. But long story short, Talion just changed the game when it comes to seals mages." Talion just stood there with that big grin plastered on his face. "Well, just entering the world of magic and he's already changed the magical world. I have to say, I'm impressed," Vera said, sitting at the table, flipping through her book, closing it as she heard these announcements. "Yeah, it was really cool," Talion said. "I just drew the symbol on the back of my hand and cast the spell, and it worked. I was having to work with this stupid paper, but it kept burning up. And then I had the idea of putting it on my body. So now, no more burnt up paper. No more paper at all if I have my say about it." "Hey, don't get so cocky. We haven't exactly figured things out yet. We don't know if there are any limitations or complications that could arise from your new process. And there's still some very real weaknesses to look over. I don't exactly know how feasible this plan of yours is. For that, I need someone with more training and experience in demonic magic. I was actually hoping Vera could do a favor for me," he said, looking over to her sitting at the table. "There's a message that I want to see if you can get across to a friend. Somebody that I know in the demon world. He happens to be a level 10 demonic mage, which is about as bad as it gets. There isn't anything worse than facing a level 10 demonic mage." "So, level 10's the highest?" Talion asked. "Yes, it is," Silas replied. "Mages who do work in the demon world have to go through testing. This testing determines their demonic mage level skill and consists of a great deal of very in-depth testing to the individual, testing their knowledge, experience, their use of magic, their control over magic, clever usage, unique style, and countless other categories. It isn't simply just a matter of power. You can be a low-level demon and still be a rank 10 when it comes to magic. It's all about the skill of the practitioner, how good they are with magic. And the guy that I'm going to ask your grandmother to contact, well, he's one of the best. He's also an insufferable know-it-all, but hey, you take the bad with the good. As far as personality goes, I wish his was a little bit more in line with my own. But unfortunately, me and him don't exactly get along. But that doesn't mean I think he's a bad guy, just not a guy I like to hang around with. As far as trustworthiness goes, I'd trust him with my life. He's not the type of guy who's going to stab you in the back. And he happens to be a friend of your father's as well. So, if I can get in contact with him, I should be able to bring him here to help train Taleon. In fact, his help might prove exceptionally beneficial. Once we come to the task of transporting Taleon from here back to the demon realm, and then fighting our way through to get back to the palace. Having him with us will definitely go a long way. So, Vera, do you think you can handle that for me? Oh, most certainly. If it's for my young Taleon. My grandchild is the most important thing. So I will do whatever is necessary. Good. Glad to hear it, Salus replied. Oh, and while you're out, I'll give you some money to pick up some supplies that we're gonna need. I wasn't planning on putting that much attention into his magic training. After all, I don't exactly have that much experience myself. But this little gag that Taleon's come up with is too good not to take advantage of. So, I'm gonna need some supplies, so we can find a way to make optimum use of it. Train him up the best that I possibly can. To do that, I'm gonna need some magical books. They shouldn't be hard to find. Basic magic, when it comes to demon magic, is, well, common. It shouldn't be hard to pick up a few books on it. Try to find any that are specific to seal magic, if it's possible. And I've got a list here, he said, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a piece of paper. I'm gonna need you to get anything and everything on this list that you can possibly get. I'm really gonna have to dip into my funds for this, but this is for the expenses, he said, as he reached back and pulled a satchel from behind him, laying it out on the table, and opening it up to show a series of glowing golden gems. These are imperial gems. As far as value goes, it's the highest you can get. What I've got laying on the table right here is a fortune. Each one is approximately about 10 pounds of gold. What? Vera said, looking at the glowing gems in the bag, of which there were dozens. You mean you've seriously been carrying around this type of money? Yeah, I have, Salus replied. Oh, forgive me if I didn't put a sticker on my head. Hey, I have lots of money, people. Maybe you could try to rob me. It doesn't seem like a good idea now, does it? Even if I am strong, that doesn't mean I want to have to deal with every petty thief who knows I have a little bit of money on me. Demons know how to recognize a siren, and the fact that we aren't perceived as powerful does not work to my advantage when it comes to dealing with thieves. They tend to assume they can take it if they want. I mean, they're wrong, but still, it's very inconvenient. What's in the bag should be more than enough to pay for the goods. Just make sure you don't get swindled. Now, as for my message, he said, pulling another piece of paper out of his pocket that Taleon had seen him writing on while they were walking back to the house. This is the message. All you need to do is find a demon who has a transmission glass. Basically, it's a mirror. that allows you to communicate with anyone who has a mirror, regardless of what realm they happen to be in, sending messages across to them. All you need to do is hold the mirror and then say the name of the person you're trying to contact. If they have a mirror as well, it will instantly send the transmission to their mirror, and whenever they see the mirror, it'll be glowing, which means that they have a message. They'll pick it up and get a visual and audio message. Basically, the mirror will record whatever you tell them whilst speaking into it. All you need to do is hold the mirror and say the name Hamilton Fletch, and it'll transmit the signal. Hopefully he'll contact me soon, if he's not out and about on one of his book hunts. He's sort of a purveyor of magical knowledge. He commonly checks to see if there are any requests on mercenary boards and things like that, to find lost libraries and such. And he always works it into the deal that he gets access to the magical knowledge. So he goes on them quite frequently. I can't take the chance that mentioning taleon might reach someone else's ears. These signals aren't exactly hidden, and people can intercept them if they want. So you do have to be careful when you're trying to communicate important information. But hopefully, the code words that I included haven't been forgotten by him. He'll know that it's important and to contact me. He's got magic, so it won't be much trouble for him. Hell, once he gets to the human world, he can teleport right to me. Just summon up a mystical green doorway and waltz right on through. You humans have a similar spell that I'm sure you'd recognize. Yes, of course, Vera replied. Well, I don't suppose it'll be any trouble. I'll take this and be on my way. I suppose a grandmother's work is never really done. I'm just glad I don't have to do the cooking, she said with a smirk, giving a gesture and summoning a black doorway before grabbing all of the things that Salus had laid down on the table, tucking them away inside of her bag, and then waltzing through the doorway without a care in the world. The doorway quickly dissipated after Vera went through it. Okay, my little man, Melody said, smiling at taleon still. Since you had such an incredible day of training, how about a special meal tonight? We still have plenty of preserved venison. I was trying to make it last a while so we wouldn't have to hunt. But I think a great day like this deserves a great meal. So, how is everybody for venison steaks? With mashed potatoes and gravy. Does that sound good? It sounds awesome, taleon said. We haven't had those in forever. I can't wait, he said, hopping up onto the table. Man, today is just my day, he said, unable to remove the smile that lay plastered on his face.